Well, Locke, you are at the centre of harness racing here in WA. Gloucester Park here. It was all happening on Friday night. Let's go back and listen to this.
Vegas Strip now in a little bit of a pocket as they come to the turn. Menemsha's gone. Christopher Dance hit the front, giving chase on the outside strongly now is Golden Load. Back in the centre, Vegas Strip, and Wave Rider is finishing strongly out wide on the track around the turn. Into the straight, Christopher Dance in front. Wave Rider's down the outside. Menemsha fights on. Vegas Strip the centre. It's Christopher Dance toughing it out in front of Vegas Strip, lunging. Christopher Dance in front, and Christopher Dance has won from Vegas Strip. And third, Menemsha.
Yeah, good fighting victory there in the Western Gateway on Friday night. Danny Roberts joins us. I think she's over in Tasmania this morning. Very good morning, Danny.
Good morning, Marty. Lockie, how are we this morning?
Very well, Danny. Congratulations on the win on Friday night. Christopher Dance, he just looks like he's progressing beautifully throughout this preparation.
Yeah, no, I was over the moon with him. He ran really good time, and I was pretty happy with his trial first up here. And his first race, he probably wasn't as tractable as I would have liked, and we made a few gear changes at home, and yeah, definitely seen a better version of him on Friday.
Gee, he was tough, wasn't he? When you watch that replay, Chris Lewis looks like he's almost got you coming to the home bend, and I thought was going to sprint past, but he really dug deep, Christopher Dance.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think he was ever going to let him get past him. He probably helped him push him across the line, that was for sure. But yeah, he's got a bit of an engine, and yeah, I thought that was probably the way to rate the race. Try and make it a pretty genuine speed throughout, and it tends to take the speed out of them snipers' legs, and I had a few of them around me. So, yeah, no, he definitely showed his ability.
Danny, you speak of his tractability in comparison to his previous starts. Take us into the inner sanctum. What type of gear changes did yourself and the Bonds make leading into Friday night that saw the result, well, that you saluted in the end?
Yeah, well, it's obviously a bit hard. He raced the other way in New Zealand, and
yep.
he had a pole on the other side, and he was going straight enough, we thought, at home, but obviously it's different when you get around the smaller track. Our track is 1,100 metres, and you get down to the half mile. It's that's why we probably had his first start at Gloucester Park, so we could sort of fine-tune a few of them things, and we ended up adding the lugging pole, and we put a hood on him to actually get him to concentrate a bit more, and being a stallion, sometimes he can knock off a little bit, and that seemed to get him pretty focused, and yeah, I was pretty happy with what I had on Friday.
Have Greg and Sky been happy with the way he's come through the run?
Yeah, he blew up a little bit and probably was going to take benefit from his first up run, and I think he will take more benefit from that as well. So I'm hoping we've got him cherry ripe in a fortnight.
Well, you speak of the fortnight's break. Obviously, if he had improvement to come, he was favourite going into the Derby prior to Friday night. He looks awfully hard to beat in a couple of weeks' time. Pre-barrier draw, what's the ideal draw for him?
I think, obviously, it showed he's got pretty good gate speed. Obviously, anywhere off the front line would be nice, but he's definitely got the depth and the versatility to be able to overcome a bad draw. But yeah, if we can draw the lead, I'd say it'd be pretty hard to beat.
How's the weather in Tassie this morning?
Yeah, I haven't left the hotel room yet, to be honest. But
I think that says it all, Marty.
No, 17 degrees doesn't look too bad.
Yeah, no, last night we went out for dinner. We got in about 7 o'clock, and it wasn't as cold as what I was expecting. So, yeah, that's a plus.
So tell us about this Female Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, we've at Launceston tonight. Emily Savalco and I have come over to represent WA, and I think there's 2 girls from every state. And, yeah, we've got 6 heats. I think everyone's got 5 drives. Got a couple of chances, couple of draws. So, yeah, hopefully we can get a couple of wins and, yeah, do WA proud.
Of those 5 drives, do you have one in particular you're looking forward to?
Yeah, his name's Been a Long Week. That's my best drive tonight.
In the 4th, Marty. Note that down.
Yeah, so we've already done that. Locke, what do you know about this Launceston track?
Me? I know nothing about the track. Ask Danny.
Now, yeah, that's your last chance, right? You do it again, you're off. I don't have to put up with you. What have we got, Dan?
I drove here actually in the first female championships back in 18, so it's been a little bit since I've been here, but it's a little bit like Pinjarra. I think if you wanted to compare to WA, it's 1,000-metre track and no sprint lane though, so yeah, we'll have to make a few better runs. Okay, and running through how this championship works, is it all decided today? Yes, yeah. So it's on a point system. Wherever you run, you obviously get however many points, and then it's tallied up at the end of the meeting. Yeah, okay. Well, good luck. All the best. Fingers crossed for you and Emily over there today at Lonnie. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Danny.
There she is, Danny Roberts. Killed him here on Friday night. Jeez, it was a good fighting finish.
It was. I was watching the race live on Friday night as I was having some dinner, and I completely agree with you, Marty. I thought the second horse was going to be awfully hard to beat at the top of the straight, but as you've outlined, as Denny outlined, he was very, very tough late, Christopher Dance.
Yeah, and she also made a very good point there about once that horse come alongside of Christopher Dance, it was never going to get past it. So it's got those fighting qualities. And down the back, when she pressed the button and went past Nemensha, it looked like he was just going to sprint away, didn't he? And then, as you said, coming to the top of the lane, Lewis looked like he had a cold but couldn't get past it. Now, we've got to get onto this Retrovision text line because there's a heap here. This first one's a good one for you, boys. I'd love your opinion. Is Amelia's Jewel up to them over there? Don't get me wrong, she's a nice horse, but is she good enough? The hype she got from WA Scribes, anyone would have thought she was Winx.
Well, I will pose you a question, Marty. Do you feel like she has improved, remained or remained at the level that she was at prior to going to Annabelle Neasham, or do you feel like she has regressed?
No, I'd probably, let's do a figures before I answer that, but I'd say about the same. I think she's racing in far superior company now.
Yes.
And again, her run there yesterday, and a run at the start before, the 1,400-metre run, was a horse looking for a mile, and then she's gone into a tough race yesterday. That was a tough race. That's
one of the best races you'll see Australia-wide throughout this whole carnival. For mine, I feel like she's regressed.
Do you?
I really do. I feel like...
How far?
Just a length. Length. And at that top level, that's tough because I feel like
she is...
You need to be
improving a length.
You got to remember, she raced in fillies and mares, set weights and penalties company in her first two races for the preparation, and she just wasn't able to get the job done. And I know on one occasion that the track wasn't playing to her pattern and to her liking, but for mine, I just feel like she's not going quite as well as she was in previous preparations.
Well, the benchmark to work it across from, and the obvious one would be Pride of Jenny from the Stock Stakes. But then, and you'd say...
But I feel like Pride of Jenny's improved.
Yeah. So there's 3.5 lengths difference from them on yesterday's run. And I would say that a mile now for Pride of Jenny is probably not her sweet spot, particularly at this stage of the preparation. More that 2,000 metres coming up in next week.
Exactly right.
Would be where she'd be better suited.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Amelia's Jewel now. Perhaps they target a race like an Empire Rose, Flemington Mile, fillies and mares, Group 1 race. I'd say that would be a really suitable assignment for Amelia's Jewel.
And that 5-year-old race which is coming up, Peter Walsh mentioned that when he was on drive.
The 5 Diamonds.
5 Diamonds.
Yeah.
So I think that ultimately could be where she ends up as well. $2 million race, I think.
Exactly right. So whilst we can be a little bit critical of her, or I am anyway, I feel like whatever she goes to next start, that will be another dropping grade, and that's where we'll hopefully see the best of her fourth up into the preparation.
Just trying to get that. Yeah, see, on that night, she beat Pride of Jenny 3/4 in the stocks, receiving half a length off Pride of Jenny. Mm-hmm. So that's a half a length. So let's say they're pretty even that night. Now there's, 2 and a bit between them.
Yep.
And allowing for Pride of Jenny to improve a bit. So maybe you're right. Maybe there's not a lot in it.
Yeah. I just
it's a length either way.
It's a gut feel. It's a gut feel, and I feel like she's regressed just a fraction as she's got a little bit older.
But even at her peak, did she finish much further than she did there yesterday? Closer?
At her peak, she may have run third, but still, I still thought she was a very credible run there yesterday.
Same here.
In a very, very strong edition of the King Charles.
And remember, she's 5, and as they start to age, some of them don't get any better, do they?
Exactly. Exactly.
Right now, next one. Look out, Channel 7 News. Lockie is the new weatherman. Already the fans are coming for you, Lock. It was $115 for a GA yesterday at Randwick. Still filled the joint up.
Well, there you
go. Not sure about paying GAs. Boys, has Amelia's jewel been cooked, and we have seen her best? Well, we just answered that one, Snoz.
Yep.
Thanks for the text on the Retrovision text line.
She's still a very popular horse. Everyone wants to know about Amelia's jewel still.
Correct. Marty Lockie, how good does Oscar's Fortunes form look with Overpass and Bella Nipotina winning yesterday?
And how good was he last week at Caulfield?
Yeah.
Is the penny ever going to drop with that horse?
Yeah, I don't know. If it does, watch out. Watch out.
He is a Group 1 quality sprinter in the making. It must just be frustrating for Dale Luciani.
Maybe if it is going to drop, it'll be with the result of going over there, racing at different tracks,
becoming a man,
the whole lot. Yeah, and he could come back the man when he went over as the boy. Who knows?
Exactly. A little bit similar to you when you come from Kalgoorlie down to Perth.
That's it.
The making of you.
Racing and sport from different angles. You're listening to The Aftermath on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Yes, and a very good morning, Chris Nelson.
Good morning, Marty. Good morning, Lockie.
Good morning, Chris. What a day it was at Randwick yesterday. Did you make it on course?
No, I didn't make it on course. I was watching all the action from home up here in Queensland. But I tell you what, guys, it was a good result. I was very happy, especially happy because we had Bella Nipotina on top of the Tab Touch rankings. So there you go, and she got the job done, and rap for Craig Williams as well. There's no better ambassador for racing than Craig Williams.
Yeah, he went climbing mountains yesterday, didn't he? Kosciuszko and the Everest. He got them both.
It's almost as good a payday as Kieran Mars.
Well, let's go and relive it. Let's start with the Everest. What were your thoughts on the race?
Well, they didn't really probably go as hard as we all thought they'd go in the Everest. And, of course, the most surprising thing from the outset was Bella Nipotina going forward. But as Kieran Maher did say post-race, she can get a flyer, and if she got a flyer, they were going to just push on, and that's exactly what she did. And, look, the way the race was run in the end, that probably won her the race because those horses in the back, they did struggle to make up ground. And look, she worked, but she didn't have to work on any sort of a furious tempo. But she's just so tough. I mean, everywhere she goes. The only knock, I said it to a lot of people on Friday, there was a little knock, at least one little knock on every runner in the Everest, but she didn't have a knock on form. She only had a knock due to the gate. And if she had have somehow offset that gate with a heavy track or a really soft track or a ride like that, she could win the race, and she did. So, fantastic the way it panned out for everybody. Giga Kick was a massive improvement. There was just a couple of queries around the likes of Giga Kick and I Wish I Win as to how much they had in the tank coming into the big race. I Wish I Win was very disappointing, but Giga Kick obviously improved out of sight, so his run was terrific. Growing Empire, the 3-year-old, was good. Lady of Camelot was great. Terrific ride, Rachel King. She got her across from a wide gate. And I thought Jolie Star was the best of the closers, but she looked like a horse that wanted further when she finished behind Sunshine in Paris and the Chiraco. And she just couldn't go that early speed, could she? But she was finishing off really well.
Earlier on in the day, Chris, it was far too easy taking out the Kosciuszko.
Yeah, this was a good result for David McCollum because we've heard all about the tragedies that this horse has nearly had. I mean, he nearly lost him in the floods at Murwillumbah a few years ago. He's had other issues as well. He's been off the scene and he's run second in this race. Well, he's run placings in this race twice. The key with him was the inside draw in the run. As soon as you saw him parked behind the leaders there, I thought, well, this horse has got one hell of a finish and you know he's going to finish off. So that was what it was all about. Craig Williams just positioned him beautifully, aided by that rails gate. And they did dash home. Front Page had its chance, but maybe the longer gap between Coming into this race first up, the gap was longer this time around. Maybe just that run short, but was brave in front.
Yeah, Lockie was a bit worried the way that Front Page stopped in the straight. Jay McDonald reported his mount felt awkward in its action over the concluding stages. Post-race vet examination did not reveal any abnormalities, so all clear there for Far Too Easy. But I've got to say, hats off to Richie Bell too. Made it his best anywhere in Australia on Friday's drive.
Big call.
And got the money. Then we went to the Sydney Stakes, and this horse, well, he's one of ours, isn't he, Lock? Overpass. Wow.
Well, he will be again soon. He'll be back there again soon, that's for sure. And look, he ran a quicker time than the Everest. No one's missed that little fact there, but he ran quicker time, and he probably would have placed. Who knows? He might have won in an Everest. He was super impressive, went to the front there, and look, they ran good time overall, 34.66 out, 34.07 home. So he was entitled for the back markers to make some ground on him, and they really didn't. Southport Tycoon was okay. Marzu and Airman were up close to the speed. They didn't do a lot. King of Sparta ran on quite well. He's probably the best of the closers, but yeah, all credit to the winner there, Overpass. He was far too good for them.
Is Southport Tycoon the one in the Golden Eagle, or are we looking elsewhere?
How far is the Golden Eagle, Rocky? Is that 1,400? I think it is 1,400 metres.
Yep.
Yes, definitely needs further. Definitely needs further than that trip yesterday.
And then in the last of the day, we saw the Silver Eagle over 1,300 metres taken out by Ostraka. Race number 8, sorry.
And look, the tempo was the key here, Lockie. They went pretty softly early. Look, the ride was good because Ostraka had been going really well, as we know. He'd won 2 from 2 this prep, and he won them well. But he drew gate 14 of 14. So the query was the gate, but Blake Shinn just got him across so comfortably. And then when he got him across there, they let him control the race. They dashed home, and they were never going to catch him. They were trying. Look, they were all making ground in a clump, but they were never going to get to Ostraka, and he won by just over half a length. Probably of those back markers, Port Lockroy ran okay. Connor Sana is a really nice mare. She needs wet ground.
Yep.
Just keep following her. She was only first up, Marty. You didn't miss her. But she didn't fly home, but she was good.
Yes, she's been one of mine over the little journey. The King Charles, now Chow Wolf, owned locally by the Unger family. Neil Penner owns shares in Chow Wolf, probably one of the most exciting gallopers in Australia today. Beats Pride of Jenny Mai Oberon and Tom Kittner. Miller's Jewel back there in 5th. She did beat home Fangirl, which is a fair effort as well. But tell us about the race.
Well, I'd have to put my hand up and say I've definitely underrated Chow Wolf. I just keep seeing these wins and looking at the times and thinking, well, he now needs further. He now needs further. He now needs further. But he doesn't. He keeps sticking at 1,600 metres, and he's getting in races where they're running along okay, which is enabling him to get a home over the top of the leaders. But when he actually does get out over 2,000, which I think will be the Cox Plate, he is a definite force to be reckoned with. He is right in that race. Pride of Jenny ran along. She didn't break any records. She set a good tempo in front. She was game, as she always is. But full credit to Chow Wolf. He's absolutely flying. And at this stage, I'd have to say he's a massive chance in a Cox Plate. And I haven't looked at any markets or anything like that this morning. But he's just going to be even better when he gets out over further, you would think.
Chris, what did you make of the commentary from Tony Otterborough and obviously the pressure that Major Beale put on Pride of Journey in the early stages of the race?
When I read it, I thought it was a bit average, to be honest. I thought, but you can't just expect people to hand races to your horse. I mean, if there's pressure put on in front, well, there's pressure put on in front. That's racing. Sometimes you get it your own way. Sometimes you don't. You've got to roll with the punches. So I thought that was a bit odd. But anyway, the stewards tend to agree. They dismissed that pretty quickly. Yeah, it was a funny one. What do you guys think?
Was it about the pressure that he put on, or the fact that he kept the horse wide in the early part of the race?
It was more about the pressure.
Oh, it was about
the pressure. Yeah.
Cox Plate prognosis: the Japanese is $4. Via Sistina at $4.20. Pride of Jenny $4.60. Broadsiding is $6. Mr. Brightside $8. Chow Wolf into $12. Docklands $13. Buckaroo $15. And then out to Fangirl at 21.
Cracking Cox Plate, absolute cracking Cox Plate this year. I mean, most years are, but there's a lot of questions. Once again, you've got the likes of Broadside, and you've got the Japanese horses as well. You've got Pride of Jenny, is she going as well? How much pressure will there be up front? So I can't wait for that. And I'm talking out of my lane here too, but Buckaroo was an unbelievable Melbourne Cup trial, I thought, as well.
Which trial? Melbourne Cup.
Yeah, I reckon he goes to a Melbourne Cup, Buckaroo. I mean, the Caulfield Cup has been a great Melbourne Cup guide over the years, and based on that, why can't he run 2 miles?
I'd drop him back to the Cox Plate.
Oh well, they may do that, Marty. They may do that.
I don't think he'd get. Honestly don't think he'd get 2 miles.
Well, on yesterday's run, he does.
I tell you, Chris, this horse in his last three, the Via Sistina and the Turnbull, the run yesterday and the Tancred, he looms up to win the races and doesn't finish it off.
Well,
that's my thought with him.
I disagree with you.
Yep.
Well, I'd say in the Tancred, you're dead right, because I had a good look at that replay during the week, and he did loom up there, and he didn't quite finish off. But I thought it was probably good enough to run 2,400. But then yesterday, I mean, if he got into the clear running sooner, I'm sure he would have run that winner down. He was finishing pretty clear. You think he peaked very late? I'll have to go back and have another look now.
Sorry? Would beat who?
I'll have to go back and... You thought he peaked a little late, peaked late yesterday in the Caulfield Cup?
Look, his sexuals will probably say he didn't. Like his sectionals said in the Turnbull that he ran quicker closing sectionals of Via Sistina. But to me, top of the lane, when I look back up, I went, Buckaroo's going to run this horse down. He didn't. I'm only going on my first thought in the run live.
Yep. Well, he was a long way away. He
was
a long, long way away from that winner. So he did make up a lot of ground, but I'm with you. I'll go back now and have another look because I trust Naiway more than the sectionals and see what he was doing that last 50 metres.
So, Chris, who are we following out of the Randwick meeting yesterday?
Well, definitely Conasana. Marty and I are both looking forward to her again. She's obviously much better suited when she gets on wet ground. And Chaya Wolf, I like him going forward over 2,000 metres. I think he's going to be a real force to be reckoned with.
Now, what about racing today? We've got a winner?
Yeah, Sunshine Coast today. There's 3 horses we can have something on, and they are race 3, number 13, Cherokee, race 5, number 7, Chief in Charge, and race 6, number 13, Walsh Bay.
3:13, 5:7, 6:13. Chris Nelson, you're a star, as you are every Sunday morning on the Aftermath. We'll listen in on Wednesday and again next Saturday morning.
Awesome, guys. Have a great day, and we'll chat next week.
Thanks, Chris.
Racing and sport from different angles. You're listening to the Aftermath on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Yes, Marty Young and Lockie Taylor with you. We head across to Melbourne Racetrack. Ralphie joins us. Hi, Ralphie.
Good morning, boys. Very, very good storyline behind Harry Coffey winning the Caulfield Cup, but perhaps that says how underrated he is as an actual talent as a jockey. So good on him. He's now got on the board because he couldn't have ridden that Duke de Sessa any better.
Exactly right, Ralphie. Good morning to you. Let's start there. The Sportsbet Caulfield Cup, Duke de Sessa. What a ride it was. Take it away.
Yeah, well, I mean, God bless him too, by the way. Duke, to my knowledge, was probably always going to lead, and from wide, Craig Hewitt did it as he should have, but her challenge was on that quick backup from the stakes last week on a firm track. She went very fast, so that's not usually the right setup, particularly if you have to then step up in distance. But she was paced herself well, and Harry was in absolutely the right spot from there. But this horse had the perfect grounding from the Mar team, and it reminded me a little bit of Gold Trip. And he ran second in this race before winning the Melbourne Cup, and just a real slow build. They obviously had a pretty big opinion of the horse when they ran in a Group 1 in its first local run. It was a Doncaster, in fact, autumn 2023. Gave it a real good spell, built through its prep, and it peaked yesterday. I would say Buckaroo. What's your favourite charities, boys? Give me one each.
Okay.
Lockie Taylor bank account.
Homelessness Australia.
You both give me one each, and I'll there's 100 to both if Buckaroo wins the Melbourne Cup.
Thank you.
How could you knock its run yesterday and got caught up in a little bit of a shuffle up and it certainly got that slowdown having seen Vincicardi's data before the turn. I don't know how it's not going to run a powerful race in the Melbourne Cup. And they spaced the rest, and there might have been a few excuses with the shifty surface, but they were the two dominant runs.
So you think Buckaroo can win the Melbourne Cup?
Well, I'm trying to think how you could knock it and not go there. So, yeah, I took a little position on it at a huge price, which is what I was trying to say. And you know, I accept that, you know, there's a distance out, but there was probably a distance out coming into yesterday. Well, he ate the line yesterday, absolutely savaged it when everything else was out of tickets.
I know he savaged the line, and we just had this conversation with Chris Nelson as well. Do you think he had any chance of beating Duke De Sessa at the top of the lane?
No, I didn't, and that he was probably pretty much evenly rated, but so was Duke De Sessa, both relative to their natural speed talents. But what I'm saying is, before the home turn, he and this is literally on the data, he lost ground there, whereas Harry was able to just maintain his position there before the turn when he was, you know, hit the front and gave, to use Craig Newitt's words, gave denied knowledge windburn. So that slowdown might have costed the result. Yesterday, I should give us an overview, and I know people watching it closely would have seen that, but it was accentuated by the southerly. There was a real strip there, and if you weren't on pace within sort of, you know, 2 to 3 lanes off the fence, you were out of play, and I'll get to a few of them later. But Buckaroo having to concede under the race shape yesterday was, you know, I couldn't think it ran any better. So whether it's good enough, I'm just saying that I don't know how they couldn't go to the Melbourne Cup the way it did what it did.
You wouldn't go to a Cox?
On the quick backup? Oh, well, I suppose I haven't checked the weather. If it's going to be soft again, maybe it'd handle it and, you know, it'd run a good race. But I think those boys happen to be with one of the owners during the week. I think they love the big day, and
okay.
I don't think they'll avoid it.
Ralphie, going back to the start of the day, Get a Fix won the opener, and you had to go back and watch this replay a few times because it was some win.
Yeah, it certainly looked the case there. It over 1,400 metres. They were out in their feet here, though. So I think you just have to be a bit careful with the form here. It did run the best last 1,200 of the day. So from that point of view, that gets a tick, and probably the track was the softest it was early in the day. But I think we have to be a bit careful with the form in the first half of the card, that being one of them. But it did savage the line. I was in a bit of a coma with Gallant Son in race 2 with Zach Purton. They didn't get all important cover for no reason whatsoever. But a good reminder there, boys. The fly-in, fly-out jockeys don't fly in for race 2.
Okay. What about the Sportsbet Classic race number 3 from a Derby point of view?
Well, so this could be a record. So according to Vince, a jumps race is basically 25 lengths below benchmark to give everyone a bit of a feel for it. They went. The leader was going 29 lengths below benchmark.
Wow.
So what I would say, and we saw this with the Apulia last year, if they back like Keeneland up at Moonee Valley next week and then go to the Derby, that's probably the best platform, because yesterday was a literal barrier trial for the first first 1,200 metres of the race. So that is not the right setup. So I wouldn't be surprised if they actually backed that up. But yeah, we didn't get much out of the race because the race didn't start until the 800 metre mark.
Dan O'Sullivan continues to do great things with a tricky horse on the rise, and that was Too Darn Discreet taking out their thrill.
Yeah, it's got a bit to learn, but it savaged the line, that's for sure. So don't want to knock it yet. And at this time of year, these type of basic form can sometimes be good enough. I'd be very careful though of stamping it for the Oaks until we see what's up against it, because at the moment it's just not doing enough on the clock for mine.
One of your favourites, Graham Begg and Jordan Childs, they were to the 4 and the 5th.
Well, I did find him this time. Trader's Intent is a big saying I like using, and this horse has shown terrific ability in the ratings races. Well, first up in a listed race, there's every incentive to come to play big time, and it did. This was one of the wins of the day. This was a super win, so real strong on the clock. It was out on its feet late. Pondalawi was a huge run. It rated very well at Bendigo, so I'd trust both these horses. They're very strong, and maybe Neon's, well, actually, Graham after the race did say he was going to give it 4 weeks off and missed Flemington and go to Caulfield. So kept nice and fresh. It can keep winning. Pondalawi up the Flemington straight. It might be its go. I wouldn't be dropping off it at all.
1,000 Guineas Pro Yerd, and it was a bit of Andrew Lloyd Webber magic. Too Darn Lizzie and Gay. She would have loved this.
Well, absolutely, and look, it could catch on, taking initiative when no one else does, and getting in front, nothing gets past you. Very slow on the clock. This couple out the back probably were out of play, but again, we've got very wet conditions, and few didn't handle it, and the horse who was put in the right spot early did. So be careful, golf this form going forward.
Estriella finally in the winner's circle for this preparation after, well, she had the tails wagging at the beginning of the preparation, but it was nice to see her salute.
Yeah, what a ride too. Being able to use its speed the right way, as opposed to at Moonee Valley previous start, it just exploded that first 400 metres and was entitled to tank out that it did. We all get a turn, guys, and I thought it was Avers because of the weight, and bobbed the head the other way. It wasn't. So there you go. But Ray Magnerio was super. It won't be any surprise watching it. Best last 800, 600, 400, and 200 a day. So it's going to take a power of beating. But I reckon Spacewalk too.
Yep.
My take on Spacewalk, set for Flemington. So second best last 800 of the day, 11th best last 200. So just loomed and faded late, and I think set for Flemington, where it ran very well twice last year, one on Derby Day and just beaten on Oaks Day in the 1,000 metre. I think it's going to run very, very well. So Spacewalk certainly one of the horses to follow from the card.
Agree. What about the Tristarc Stakes taken out by Lady in Pink?
Yeah, another barrier trial. This one started at the 600 metre mark, so this was tremendous watching this. And yes, Lady Pig put me out of the quaddies. Can't beat self-interest as a putter, can we? They just walked. So well done, and they were in the right spot. The horse who I wouldn't at all be surprised if it runs a bold race in the Empire Rose over a mile and a fast run Flemington, big track set up is Skybird. Complete forgive under that circumstance yesterday.
And I'm not sure about the times out of this race, Ralphie, but the winner of the last just stormed home late.
It did, and they've actually produced quite good figures here, and it overcome a fair slowdown there from the 400 to 200 as well. So there was money for it. It's one thing I've learned from Annabelle Newsham. She is very good at getting the horses to come to play first up. So, and when the money kept coming for it, hello, this is going to run well, and it was in the right spot. Pinstripe was in the right spot. Just got to say it. Poor ride, poor tactics from Ben Allen. How you could concede the way that track was playing that day, and then tried to flush yourself out. It was a real bad ride. And I'm just talking tactics, and I'm sitting on my backside. I know that, but you've got to tell it as it is. So Pinstripe, I think Flemington, it's obviously back on track, and it can find a race through the carnival. But horses to follow from yesterday on a pretty tough day. Horses to follow. I just think I'd stick with Spacewalk at Flemington, and then in race 5, that Neons and Pondalawi Quinella are the two that are going to win races off this.
Okay, text here off the text line. Ralphie, you got a tip in the Horsham Cup today?
I haven't looked at the Horsham Cup. I apologise. Been knee-deep because I had to do the Everest Day as well as Caulfield Cup.
Liam Howie's got a Country Cup specialist there, Station 1. I think he's won 9 races, and 8 have been Country Cups.
Oh, he'd have a fair mantelpiece, wouldn't he?
Yeah. Ralphie, all the best. Enjoy lead up to Cox Plate Day, and we'll talk on Sunday.
Good on you, boys.
After a huge weekend of racing and sport, we can all do with a Sunday Saviour to round out the punting weekend in winning style. The Tab Touch Sunday Saviour is here to sweeten your Sunday on the punt. It's over to the boys to provide this week's edition of Tab Touch Sunday Saviour.
Yes, no Sunday Saviour winner last week. The big left-hander's working hard behind the scenes, Big Brazer, and he has told us that no winner last week, but get them in. There's already been a plethora of Sunday Saviours come through, and get them in on 0427 789 571, which of course is that Retrovision text line, but Brad Hardy's next.
On the Aftermath, it's time to introduce the 1985 Brownlow medalist from the Footscray Football Club, Brad Hardy. Introducing the boy from Hilton, the AFL guru, Brad Hardy.
Good morning, Bradley.
Good morning, Lockie. Good to be with you, boys. So, fabulous day's racing yesterday. No joy for me, but I enjoyed it all the same.
Good morning, Brad. Great to have you on. What a day it has just transpired to be. Caulfield Cup, the Everest double. It is one of the best days of Australian sport.
Certainly has become that, Lockie, no doubt about that. But the beautiful thing about it, and it's right in your wheelhouse, young man, Marty and I have always been been a fan base, but it's creating a new fan base, isn't it, Marty? I mean, that Sweet Caroline, Neil Diamond must be just washing himself in $100 bills every time it's played. It's unbelievable, isn't it, how it's come through? Such an old, fantastic performer and a song that's been around forever. And they all get involved and they all sing it in front of the grandstand there. So there was fantastic scenes, and the race really lived up to it too. It didn't quite go the way we all thought it would pan out. We thought it'd be helter-skelter. Didn't quite work out that way, but a great winner, great race. Jolly Star just couldn't muster really, Marty, but she flew home, and there's a lot to look forward to going forward for everybody.
Yeah, I thought it was a funny selection, Jolly Star, but anyway, who's going to doubt the great man? He's done it twice and won it twice with horses that he's slot owned and trained. You say 1:8:36, soft 5. I know they didn't go as quick as we thought they would.
They would.
They're still low flying, aren't they, Locke? You wouldn't mind having one that can go 1:8:36 on a slow track.
They've still come home pretty quick. I'll give you the tip.
Yeah,
I think the
bunch finish, wasn't it? The bunch finish, wasn't it? It was a fantastic, anticipation and tactical ride by Craig Williams. There's no doubt about that. But when they finish in a clump like that, if that was a normal race, you'd be pulling your hair out, wouldn't you? Sort of saying, well, how do you work this one out?
Well, you just put the line through the form, wouldn't you? So form no good it is.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it was great. I really enjoyed it and. Watching it, and congratulations, and up to Group 1 status, Lockie, and just a lazy $20 million to share around amongst them. I think they'll be pretty happy.
Yes, wow, what a race.
Yeah, what a race it was. Now, let's get to the text line for Retrovision. We've got a few to work through here, and Lisa of Ellenbrook, she opens up the batting in the first hour every week. Morning, guys and team. Craig Williams, remarkable ride on Bella Nipotina, throw wide all the way to win the Everest. The trade, Eagles were caught napping in the Barras trade with Hawks, giving pick 14 to Carlton. They had committed to getting Baker, and that resulted in them splitting pick 3. It's a high risk, but time will tell. They can still get a good player with pick 12. Guys, don't condone what GWS players did, but Brad, what's the AFL integrity unit doing worrying about private functions, especially when they've done nothing with Melbourne over their drugs and gambling saga, and their own drugs policy has not worked? They would be better off getting their own house in order. Have a great week. Cheers, Lisa of Ellenbrook.
Oh, no doubt. And look, firstly, we discussed during the weekend, post all the way through, with West Coast, and the wash-up, Lockie, was that West Coast didn't quite get it right. Now, they'll argue they did. They tried to put window dressing over a failure, as far as I'm concerned, because of the fact that they had committed so hard, as we said, Marty, last week, to picked 14 to Richmond and Baker. They got blown out of the water by refusing to pick up the phone and answer the calls from Hawthorn. Are we doing this deal? What is going on? If you don't, we're going to go to Carlton. They did that, forced them to panic, and basically Don Pike was the only one in control of all of this, and he was the one who had to sign off on the pick 3 being split. He did that. Now, as I said last week, Sunday, Marty, to you and Shorty. Sorry, Lockie. Was it you, Lockie, last week, or Shorty?
No, Shorty.
Yeah. Shorty. I said, look, they're all talk down now, Bo Allen, because West Coast, within their walls, they were saying, oh, yeah, no, Bo Allen, oh, look, he's a good player, but we're not really sold on him. And now it's Fremantle who are saying, oh, Bo Allen, he's not a bad player. Oh, we're not really structured to go that way, but they'd want to get him. I think they want to get him West Coast now, because whilst Fremantle came out on top, I thought they did really well with getting Bolton and getting a pick back in 14. They'll still get a very good player, but they won't get a good player as they would have got at number 3, boys. Simple as that. The GWS Giants, no one's condoning that, Lisa. We know that. They've made an error in judgment, these young blokes. But the bottom line is it's just typical, Lockie, of the AFL being the moral compass of the world when it suits them. And I've been right at the front of the conga line with the drugs policy. It is absolutely pathetic. They refuse to do anything about it. And if anybody ever gets caught or does something wrong, we've got to throw our arms around them. And in this case, yes, there was a lot of people who made mistakes at the GWS Giants, but they just punished the ones who were expendable. That's what they've done. They were giving a kid 4 weeks who hasn't got a contract.
Exactly. And where were the AFL... And where were the
$5,000 fines on blokes who were playing for over $1 million?
Exactly. Where were the AFL when Tyson Stengel was carried out of a nightclub during the season?
Yeah. Oh, exactly right. That's what I'm saying. Let's throw our arms around it. Let's leave it to Geelong. They're smart enough. They'll get it right. We'll leave it to the Giants.
Exactly.
Why don't they? Nobody knew. I mean, as I say,
no one knew.
Because it came out, 4 weeks after the event.
September 18.
And the process that they utilised in this case gave the players no chance of reply. It was pretty much, here's a notice to be served, and by the way, this is what you're getting. Job done. What sort of inquiry is that?
Exactly. Back on the Eagles, Brad, the way that they've traded throughout this off-season, is there an element of a short-term fix where they're trying to make this team more competitive? One, to potentially lure a big fish like Chad Warner next year, and two, to retain Harley Reid.
Yeah. Okay, let's deal with it chronologically. I was told at some point by somebody within the walls that, we're looking at just to give a bit of beef up in the middle of the list, okay, and make our waffle team better. Sorry?
What?
Sorry?
Oh, God.
What? We want them competitive. We need that little bit so while these boys grow and our top-end talent's all right. They've got no time. The top-end talent's almost out the door. I mean, McGovern's not that far away. Elliot Yeo is a wonderful player, but we don't know about his body. Tim Kelly, ditto, etc. So, it's quite bizarre. So I didn't watch that one straight off the bat. They blew the Barrass deal, as we said. We knew that. Oh, yes, and they tried to gloss over it by saying, we've got a future first, second and third rounders. Well, it's given a free hit to Hawthorn, Marty. That's what it's done. So Hawthorn can now go on about their business, and Hawthorn can go for a shot at the title. And if they do, well, how does that look at that future first, second and third rounder? If Hawthorn are going to finish up that end of the ladder, you're talking about picks 18, 19, 20. That's the future first rounders for Hawthorn. And meanwhile, they can barrack against Carlton, Hawthorn, because they swapped the deal. And if Carlton don't finish in the 8 and finish outside the 8, well, guess who wins? Hawthorn. So that was just bizarre in its own right. There's discontent inside the walls at West Coast. Don't make no mistake about that. And I would be keeping an eye on, just me, for my reading the play from the outside, I would be keeping the eye on that, their list management / recruiting arm. I think there's a lot of discontentment in there. And unfortunately, Richmond, who lost their main man, unfortunately, who passed away last week, tragically, there's a position there. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but, anybody within that walls at West Coast, maybe given an opportunity to go and join Richmond, would certainly look at it, I would think, because of the fact that, they're in such a disarray in there, because it was all done by one man, and one man only, Don Pike.
Beto and Mandra sent one in on that Retrovision text line. A few to work through. Great days racing yesterday. Congratulations to Comfort Me and Connections getting back in the winner's enclosure after 1,078 days between drinks. Reece Radford will be on the program between 8 and 9. Bravo Centurion absorbing pressure and dropping another gear. Straightening was great to watch. Don't know how Pikey got Watch Me Rock home in the last from so far back. Unsure of the quality of what it beat, but sprouted wings late and actually looked soft on the line. Cheers from Benno and Mandra.
Agree with all three messages there, Benno. 3 fantastic wins. Agree especially with the text in regards to Bravo Centurion. 57.58 over the 1,000 at Ascot. That is low flying, and he had to absorb pressure all throughout that race. It was an enormous win.
Brad, for loans.
Like Benno had a Saturday saviour.
Well, I think he would have been on Pike in the last. Snozzers text in about the AFL trade. Just 2 trades took place in the first 5 days, and both occurred on day 1, Darling and Bullen. The trade carried on for 10 days, and in the end, 9 players got traded in the final 30 minutes, and these trades had been on the table for days. This trade time must be altered to a much shorter time. The players and families to suffer under a miasma cloud of uncertainty. The AFL think it is great theatre. Snoz.
Yeah, no, absolutely spot on again. And look, it went for 10 days. I said 7's maximum. You get it done in 3, but the only thing you need time for, Snoz, in say 7 days, Lockie, is that if some players are overseas, holidaying, whatever, and you've got to get to them on the other side of the world time frames, and they may need to do a medical. But that's the only reason that it should go 7 days, because the rest of it is just absolute bulltish. I mean, you saw in the last, and they'll try to dissolve, an opinion, Marty, that you and I have had for a long, long time. The managers are way, way too influential, Lockie. Yeah. And you saw, Paul Connors up and down there in the last half an hour, all the theatre. Oh, I'm trying to get this deal done for my boy Bailey Smith. Oh, I'm trying to get this guy here. And he's working feverishly. It was all done. But they just tell them to hold it back because they want to have the crescendo. They want to have the flurry. They want to have, look what's happening in the draft, and the trade and all of that sort of stuff. So, don't fall for that, listeners.
Let's go across to the other side of the town and take a look at what Freo's done throughout this off-season, Brad. You touched upon it earlier. Bolton, that is one huge in.
Oh, absolutely. Look, I've had a lot of great, robust discussions with people from both teams, fans of both sides. And mates, we've all got mates who follow different teams. And, obviously West Coast was pretty resounding that they thought, well, we didn't get much, we didn't do well, wait and see. But I just one last thing. The buffoons on the keyboard warriors on social media, just leave Liam Baker alone. It wasn't Liam Baker's fault that, all this went down. It was the club's fault. So if you want to direct anything, angst towards anybody, it should be the club and Don Pike, because they were the ones who stuffed it up. Liam Baker is a fabulous young man. He's a premiership player for Richmond. He's come across. He'd been promised, and he was only sticking to the plan. Secondly, with Fremantle, I thought they did really well. I've had people say, we paid too much for Bolton. Well, no, you haven't. You needed a game changer. How many game changers are out there? How many X factors are out there? And I agree. I got no doubt. And they have to have that really healthy. I'm sure they would have had a very healthy discussion with Shai. Hey, listen, you're not coming home for a party, mate. You're not coming home to be with the brothers and the cousins and the family and all that sort of stuff. That's one thing. You're here on very handsome money to play football, and we need you to get your head in the game. And we need you to get right up to speed. I'd be running him. He's a very lopey, long-striding fella for a small guy. I'd be running him with the midfield. I'd be running him with Brayshaw and Sarong and these sort of guys, getting him a little bit more of a tank. But he gives you that absolute ability to have a small, crumbing, exciting footballer, opportunist forward who could kick you 40 to 50, but he could also spend a lot of time in the midfield if things aren't going well. And as I said to Marty and Shorty for all along, Sarong, Brayshaw, whoever, Fife, if you win the ball at ground level, look to the outside. There's Hayden Young. Give it to him. If you look to the other side and there's Shea Bolton, give it to him and let them kick it. That's the idea. So, no, they've done remarkably well there. And to get 14 back in the door, as I say, they'll still get a pretty handy young footballer. And I hope it's Bo Allen, because they've been grooming him down at Peel for a while now. And if West Coast don't pick him up, I'm pretty sure Fremantle will.
Another one off the text line here from 825. I think it's about Buckaroo. I think the first text hasn't come through properly, but paint the picture earlier on with Chris Nelson. Chris Nelson thought Buckaroo was a great chance in the Melbourne Cup. I didn't. And then in this text it says that Buckaroo has made up 12 lengths from the turn and got beat a length and a quarter. It was a terrific run. I'm not doubting it was a terrific run. I've still got stamina doubts on a 3,200-metre race for him. And I know he got into a fairly short price favourite yesterday, Buckaroo, but I didn't have him in my win box in the first 4, so there you go.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. But I think if you run that race 10 times, I think he'd be finishing a bit closer.
I know he got held up, Brad, but I'll tell you what, he got a wonderful run through them. If you go the overhead shot. And one of the things with Buckaroo, he just doesn't jump.
The camp and the jock were both very, very hopeful that he would run them over, and it just didn't work out that way. And well done to Harry Coffey, what a great story that is, and Kieran Maher, what a great day he had. But, look, I think you're right. I mean, I think when you talk Caulfield Cups to Melbourne Cups, we know it goes up a quantum leap. So, it can. He's not out of it, but he might figure in the back end of your novelties in the Melbourne Cup.
We haven't really spoken about it either. The third horse is massive, Land Legend. It just pulled its head off from the minute they jumped, refused to settle.
How it finished where it did was remarkable.
And so Daisy was disappointing. He gave her the best ride of the race and took the spot of Land Legend when he got off the fence. Daisy cut inside him. I thought, she's going to explode here, and just didn't run on. So she was a little disappointing for mine.
Yeah, and the other one that just pulled its head off too was Sadati. It just it got lobbed into a nice spot early, but it just reefed and tubed, and you wonder how that happens. But probably beat the handicapper. That's more your work, Lockie, than mine. But it didn't quite work out for him either.
Honestly, how it's pulled its head, I don't know, because I've watched every run of its life, and it's a one batting stayer. It's never pulled in its life, ever.
Yeah. Sounds like you had it in yours too, Matty.
No, I did not fall into that one. A lot of the other good judges did, but not for me. Eagle Josh Rotham, 69 games in 8 years. He had a dismal season and is uncontracted for next year, but still on their list. Why? Chris Acomo.
Yeah. Oh, well, as I say, that there's still a little bit of a shake-up to go. They've got to delist 3 in the not-too-distant future. Club's got to do that. And you can still swap your picks around coming up to the national draft and even up to the night. So we'll keep an eye on that one. But the one with all the hands, all the kids, all they need to do, I think, Lockie, going into this national draft is learn the Richmond theme song, because that's where they're all going.
How has that been received, this just remarkable resurgence of Richmond at the trade table and now their draft hand? How's that been received?
Mixed.
Well, he is a star, Blair Hartley. I mean, the name wouldn't mean anything to you, but it's like a bloodstock picker, a chooser. He's a beauty. He knows what he's doing, and they knew that. Look, and the bloke who probably should be coaching Richmond is coaching West Coast next year. Make no mistake about that. The only reason McQualter didn't get the job at Richmond the year before, he was probably as good or better as Uze, but they said they just wanted to change the familiarity and they just wanted to change the voice. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have to go back. So that's where, as I say, you let your people that you delegate do the work. And Blair Hartley is first class in that area. And he said, no, let's get all these picks in. We're prepared to do this. Yep, ta-da you. Daniel Rioli, see you, Liam. Jack Graham walked out anyway because he could. You know what I mean? So, but now they've got this very, very healthy choices, haven't they? Some really, really, and I know they say it loosely, generational players coming through this particular draft. So, it's going to be very, very good pickings for them, and it'll help. Look, it won't make it the be all and end all. I can't see them rushing back into the top 8 next year or anything, Lockie, but it'll expedite it a little bit. So you'd hope by the end of 2026 that they're back into some sort of mode, not winning premierships, but certainly starting to move up the ladder and trying to challenge.
That was my next question. What's a pass mark for Richmond next year and I guess the following year in 2026? How quickly can we see them progress?
Well, look, I think they're coming off a very low base. So, they could probably aim to win, if they can win, 6 to 8 games next year instead of the couple they got this year, well, that would be a start. But as I say, it's very, very hard. You've still got to have the glue around them, and they've lost a lot of that. They've lost, as we know, but there's still some handy players there. There's still some, but the enthusiasm and the blank canvas that Uzo is going to get, because none of these boys are scarred or damaged. You know what I mean? Like, they're coming afresh, so he can work with them from minute one and build them into, something really, really nice within 2 to 3 years, I would have thought.
Bradley, with the stretch trade period, you have to give all the hangers-on TV a gig in the off-season. Next is a rookie drawn-out saga. That is for Boulder Barney. He's having a crack. And just another one here from Peter of Midland. What was Harley Reid doing with the Caulfield Cup yesterday? That was a surprise.
I told you that because I said, look, this is unusual. They would have to go through his management. This worries me, and this is why West Coast have got to wake up, because, the Barras deal was under the same management umbrella, and they were filthy. This went on, and Harley Reid is, as we know, it's going to be the longest 12 or 15 months for West Coast in the history of their life. Make no mistake about that. And Paul Connors will do what's best for Paul Connors. He won't be doing and he'll also do well for Harley Reid. But what he does for Harley Reid will be good for Paul Connors. So from that point of view, they got to really watch their back here. They could have got another really good young. I'm not saying they got another Harley Reid, but they might get another really, really good young player in there with him to get around them and try and teach the blokes they've already got there, who behind the 8 ball right now, who came in and learnt nothing under Simpson. So they're going to get some really good coaching this year from McQualter and with a future, and all of a sudden start to build a few wins, because if you don't win, he'll be out the door.
Okay, Brad, Sunday Saviour time, 0427 789 571. Get them in. I did warn the left-hander. I said, Braves, be very careful when you say there hasn't been a winner because there's a protest.
That was the best bet of today.
Tracy from Geraldton. Here are my tips from last week. All up places, 3-4, Queen Nardi, 4-5, Snippy Witch, 5-3, King of Feed, 7-1, Simply Thinking, Trace. I'd say they all ran a place. Can you just check that lot? But I'm pretty sure they all ran a place. So protest upheld.
Good on you, Tracy. Well done.
Yes,
Brazer. Up goes the flat. I'm an hour specialist today, boys. I'm an hour specialist today.
Here we go.
Race one, number one, Draco's Fire at $1.80. Race 4, number 12, it's called Walk Like a Man. That's you, Marty. $2.30.
Old
Race
man.
5, number 11, for Waterhouse and Bot, Invincible Duchess, $2.20. So 180 Draco's Fire, race 1, number 1.
Draco.
230 Walk Like a Man, race 4, number 12 for Kerry Parker. And Invincible Duchess, $2.20, race 5, number 11 for Waterhouse and Bot. First up, $9.10, I think we'll take that.
What a terrific time it is to be involved in horse racing. Spring Carnival, there's country cups everywhere. Horsham Country Cup there today, Brad. They're racing at Nowra. What a fantastic time.
Oh, it is outstanding, boys. And listen just to your ears too, Marty. Dyson Heppel's going to play with Port Melbourne next 2 years.
Oh, good
As
on
you know,
him.
James Hurd's gone down there.
Yeah.
So you've lost him and he's gone down to Port Melbourne. But you're absolutely right there, Marty. And we'll keep abreast of everything going on during the week. I'll speak to the boys on the daily. We're here for the Nude Nut, 1-800-100-100. He can do things the banks can't. And also we've got Group 1 Morts. He's an absolute ripper. And Frankie Lee at Ross's Auctions. And is our little brutal colt shown up yet?
No, he's on his way across.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
Okay.
He's getting edgy already, Marty. It's a bad idea to put Brad Hardy in a ready-to-run 2-year-old because he's already just chomping at the bit.
Ready to go. Well, they're ready to run.
Should put him in a bloody weanling, make him wait.
29 away from 8.
When's the Caracal plate?
Yeah, there we go.
Good on you, Bradley. See you, mate.
Yeah, boys.
Simon Hill, a very good morning.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Yeah, good. I got Lockie Taylor with me here today. Let's start off with the EPL, and I want to go away from the norm here and concentrate on the big upset. Bournemouth 2, Arsenal 0.
Yeah, that's a very damaging result for Arsenal, and again, a red card. Excuse me, their third red card of the season. Rather unnecessary as well. A horrendous back pass from Leandro Trossard put in William Saliba in all sorts of problems. He tripped up Evan Nilsson and was promptly sent off. So that set the scene really for an afternoon of struggle for the Gunners. They lost their unbeaten start to the season. Second half goals, Ryan Christie and Justin Kluivert from the penalty spot, conducting a famous day really for Bournemouth. They're up to 10th. Arsenal missing the chance to go top. Of course, Liverpool and Manchester City are not in action until a bit later on today. And, as Declan Rice said afterwards, it was all really self-inflicted, and it's not the first time that that's happened this season. So the Arsenal fans, as you can imagine, are screaming blue murder, saying that, the referees are against them and all that sort of stuff. But I don't think they can have too many complaints about the red card yesterday.
I was reading through some statistics earlier this morning, Simon. Arsenal have 18 red cards since the new manager. Everton have the next most throughout that same period at 13. What is the problem?
Yeah. Well, it's quite telling, isn't it? I mean, yesterday, obviously, Saliba's foul is an obvious red card, but the two others that they suffered this season, Leandro Trossard against Man City and Declan Rice, I'm trying to remember who the game was against, I can't remember, but both for kicking the ball away, second yellow card offences, which, just unnecessary, really. And it puts a team under pressure. That game against Manchester City in particular, they had an advantage, and I mean they were within seconds of winning that game at the Etihad Stadium before John Stones equalised. But when you lose a man in the Premier League, even against teams like Bournemouth, with the greatest respect to them, they're handy sides, and it means that you've got to put in a really good defensive shift to win games. And yesterday it unravelled a bit for them. So I think it's in part a lack of discipline, maybe concentration. I'm not sure, but they've got to stop that. If they're going to win the title, then they can't afford to be having players sent off every second week.
Simon, Spurs came from 1-0 down against West Ham to win 4-1.
Yeah, big win that for Tottenham, because obviously they were under pressure a little bit after the late capitulation to Brighton, which was the last game before the 2-week break. So they needed a response, and I guess Spurs fans might have thought the worst when Mohamed Kudus gave West Ham the lead. But having Son Heung-min back in the team is such a bonus for Tottenham, and he was really at the heart of things. He was among the goal scorers. His shot was turned in for an own goal by Alphonse Areola, the West Ham goalkeeper, for the third. Yves Bissouma and Dejan Kulusevski with the other goals for Tottenham. So that's an important win. Ange will have been stewing, no doubt, throughout that 2-week international break as to how to put things right. He said that loss against Brighton was the worst of his managerial career at Tottenham. So he'll be feeling a whole lot better today, but perhaps not West Ham, because they're in a bit of bother down at the bottom. Pressure started to build on Lopetegui, their coach.
An important win for Aston Villa, 3-1 against Fulham to continue their good start to the season.
Yeah, Villa are a real emerging force under Unai Emery. Of course, they qualified for the Champions League last season. This was another come-from-behind win. Raul Jimenez giving Fulham an early lead after 5 minutes, but Villa were back square within 4 minutes. Morgan Rogers equalising via a heavy deflection. The turning point of the game really was a penalty awarded to Fulham. Matt Cash handling the ball inside the area, but Andreas Pereira's penalty was pretty weak, and Martinez saved it quite comfortably, and Villa just eased through the gears after that. Ollie Watkins with another goal, and Anissa Diop own goal after Joachim Andersen had been sent off. The only sour note for Aston Villa, they had a man sent off late on as well, Jaden Philogene, after a foul on Reece Nelson. But Villa are going to be challenging again for the top four. And I guess along with that, they'll be, looking to win a trophy, because they're certainly in the mix as, one of several teams behind the so-called elite that could easily win some silverware.
Brentford blew a 1-0 lead to go down 2-1 to Manchester United at Old Trafford.
Yeah, huge win for Erik ten Hag, who seems to be under serious pressure every single week. Ethan Pinnock putting the Bees ahead in first half stoppage time. United are a bit angry about that, by the way, because Matthias de Ligt was off the field getting treatment for a head injury at the time. But United managed to turn it around in the second half. Alejandro Garnacho is having a really good season for them at the moment. He's probably their brightest creative spark at the moment. And Rasmus Højlund, after a lovely Bruno Fernandes touch, ensuring victory for the hosts. So Ten Hag survives another week. They go to Fenerbahce in the Europa League on Thursday, and that'll be another big test for them, but they needed those 3 points.
Gruelling clash between Brighton and Newcastle, but it was a 35th minute goal from Danny Welbeck that put Brighton in front.
Yeah, Danny Welbeck winning the points for Brighton. His 5th goal in 8 games, by the way. He's having a real sort of Indian summer to his career. He's 34 now, but unfortunately his afternoon didn't end particularly well. He left the game on a stretcher after injuring his back. He'll have scans on that this week. A bit of a surprise, I guess, that Brighton were able to go up to St James's Park and win. Newcastle would have been strong favourites, but they were very wasteful in front of goal. The first time they've been kept scoreless in 22 home games to the start of last season. So a damaging loss for Newcastle, but great win for Brighton.
Southampton, 2-0 up, blew it. Leicester City beat them 3-2, and another red card involved here.
Yeah, crazy game, this one. Ryan Fraser is the man who was sent off for Southampton. Leicester fighting back from 2 goals down to win it through Jordan Ayew's 98th minute strike, which just sort of apologetically creeped in at the near post. The catalyst for the change after the Saints were 2-0 up at half-time, Cameron Archer and Joe Aribo with the goals for Southampton. But Leicester introduced substitute Abdul Fatawu, and he was really the game changer for them. He set up Buonanotte for the first goal, and then after his shot had hit the bar, the melee that followed saw Ryan Fraser drag back Jamie Vardy. So it was a penalty. Fraser sent off. Vardy scored the spot kick, and then Ayew with the late winner almost in slow motion. That will be devastating to Southampton after being 2-0 up. Still winless in 8 games. They slump to the bottom of the table, and Leicester climb up to 14th.
And then Everton, 2-0 victors over Ipswich, the bottom of the table clash. Are there any ramifications out of this match?
Well, for Ipswich, the longer this wait goes on, and they're now 8 without a win, same as Southampton, it shows just, how big the gap is between the Championship and the Premier League and how difficult it is for newly promoted clubs to survive. And the longer that run goes on, the more panic, I guess, is going to set in. They've got a very savvy coach in Kieran McKenna, but they need to get 3 points. And to be honest, they're defending again for both goals yesterday. This has been their Achilles heel. Their general play is quite good, but defensively, they're so kamikaze. Yesterday, for both goals, Iliman Ndiaye and Michael Keane, who, to be fair, scored with an absolute rocket into the top of the goal. But on both occasions, really, Ipswich should have cleared their lines and couldn't. And that, unfortunately, is the difference. You make a mistake in the Premier League, you get punished. And they're one place above the relegation zone. Good win for Everton, though. They're up to 4 unbeaten now, and that'll be a priceless 3 points for them at Portman Road.
Okay, let's have a look at these 2 games to come. Importantly for you, Wolves are playing Man City. They're $8.50, $6 a draw. Man City are $1.30. And then Liverpool are playing Chelsea. This is 11:30 game tonight. Liverpool, that's our time, of course, Simon. Liverpool 162. The draw there 4.10 and Chelsea at 5.10. Do both favourites win?
Interesting. Look, I think Man City have got to be strong favourites to win at Molineux. Wolves were bottom of the table up until yesterday. They're without a win in 7. City are 30 matches unbeaten in the Premier League. And even though they are away from home and without Kevin De Bruyne and Rodri, of course, who's out for the season, they did lose 2-1 at Molineux last year. But you'd fancy City to go there and win. They have fallen behind, though, in 4 of the last 6 games, but they've shown their character to come back and earn 10 points from those 4 fixtures, and they're now the only unbeaten team left in the Premier League. So I think the bookies have got it right with that one. The other game is interesting, Liverpool-Chelsea. Chelsea somewhat revitalised under Enzo Maresca, and of course they've got Cole Palmer, who is one of probably the most informed player in the Premier League at the moment. You look at his numbers since he signed for Chelsea, 28 goals and 16 assists in 40 matches, which is extraordinary. And there's no Alisson in goal for Liverpool. However, Liverpool top of the league. They've won 3 consecutive games. I wouldn't be surprised if this one ended up as a draw. I think Chelsea are a chance. So I think there's a bit of value in that one.
Simon, what's caught your eye over the opening weekend of the A-League competition?
Well, I was at Parramatta last night to do the Sydney Derby, so obviously that was a highlight. Sydney FC deserving winners in the end, even though they had Max Burgess sent off. The Wanderers, a bit of a work in progress. Obviously, new coach, Alan Stajic. I think they'll come good, but Sydney looks strong. Great to see the 2 marquees in action. Douglas Costa was very good for Sydney. Juan Mata had a good cameo for the Wanderers. And the other big takeaway from the weekend, or from yesterday at least, was 24,000 turning up to witness the debut of Auckland. And they got a win over Brisbane Roar as well. So, good signs. 27,000 in Sydney for the Derby, 24,000 in Auckland. There's life in the A-League yet.
Tough one for Glory against MacArthur today, or not?
Yeah, it is. Obviously, MacArthur have, just won the Australia Cup and on the back of a very strong defence. And we don't really know what we're going to get from Perth because they are much changed under David Strilic. The key really is going to be tightening up the defence. They copped nearly 70 goals in the A-League last season. They've already let in 9 in 3 Australia Cup ties. So is it going to be the same old problem? Their road form is horrible, quite frankly. But, new season, new players, new coach. Let's see what happens today. You never know.
Well done, Simon. Thanks for that. We'll do it again next week. Simon Hill, absolute star when it comes to football. Now, we had a text earlier on about what's happened to Bailey Wheeler. Chris Nelson's fired this through. He dislocated his shoulder on Wheatwood Day and should be back in around 2 weeks. Another one wants the tips from Brad Hardy. He was at Nowra, race 1, number 1, race 4, number 12, and race 5, number 11. And also from the Sunshine Coast today, Chris Nelson, race 3, number 13, race 5, number 7, and race 6, number 13. While I'm giving out tips, Chris Shane Warren today, the early start, Kalgoorlie, but he's not there. He's over there in Melbourne. Race 3, number 2, race 4, number 1, and race 5, number 8. Jack Turnbull is our next special guest.
The corner, 300 metres to go. 2 legs, 3 legs in front of Land Legend, who couldn't sprint with it. Deny Knowledge, wax on Zardozi, and here's Buckaroo. Duke to Sessa, 200 metres to go. 4 legs in front. Buckaroo's the only danger, trying to get into the lead. Duke to Sessa, 100 to go from Buckaroo, a length and 3/4, but it's going to be Duke to Sessa, Harry Coffey. This is your moment. A length and a half, Buckaroo.
What a very special time that was, and Jack Turnbull from Kirramar Racing joins us. Jack, congratulations. What a win, coming not long after the win in the Everest as well with Bella Nipotina.
Morning. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it was a spectacular hour of racing, stuff you can't even dream about. But, it was a massive day for the team and good couple of wins.
Morning, Jack. Congratulations once again on a fantastic day yesterday. Let's start with the Everest. Bella Nipotina, Marty and I, we've just been fascinated by the tactics of the stable and Craig Williams throughout the week and leading into yesterday's $20 million race. At what point did you catch wind of the fact that Kieran and Craig might just say, okay, we're going to just plot this path and let her be 3 deep the trip?
Well, it was very much a case of how she stepped, because she has had a tendency in the past to be slow out. So we knew that if she was going to be quick away, that we would go with her, because that's half the battle, and that's what she was. So she was quick out. She was on song, and beyond that, Kieran said to Craig, just ride her ugly. She's tough. She's rock hard fit. You know what you're going to get, and she showed that yesterday.
I heard an interview with Kieran Maher during the week, and he said Bella Nipotina's record from white draws is very good. So he wasn't too perturbed by that barrier number 11.
No, he wasn't. And I think he was more just perturbed by the fact of what form she was in. She's amazing to think, but for her age, she's in career best form. And she's just seemingly coming back better and better every time. So he was very confident. Every time I'd spoken to him about her in the last couple of weeks, she just kept looking better and being better, which you just wouldn't believe. But form replicated that, and winning an Everest with a first of $7 million to the winner yesterday is a great example. So the use of the Bong Bong facility would have been very important there? 100%, yes. Just private facilities. She does a lot of work in the spa, the water walker, the hyperbaric chamber. She's been in it all. You've obviously got her own grass tracks and hill tracks there that she works on with the treadmills. So she deserves everything, and that's what she gets. And it's a credit to the staffing group up there that they work very tirelessly in achieving what results they got yesterday.
Jack, how has she come through the run, and where can we see her next?
She's come through the run really well. All 3 runners in the Everest trotted up fine this morning, which is pleasing. So we'll have to see. She's probably coming down for the championship sprint at this point. But, yeah, depending on weather, we know she excels on rain-affected ground. We'll just see. But I'd say wherever we go, she's going to be well favoured, and you'd be pretty confident she's going to run well.
We're talking about the race earlier on, the performance of Growing Empire. I was wrapped in that run. I still think as a colt, he had the opportunity to give that away in the straight, and he toughed it out.
Certainly did. He is a star. 3-year-old, it's his second prep, essentially, and he mixed it with the big boys in his last 2 races. And although we haven't won, he was beating the nose last start, obviously, and he's matched it with the best sprinters in Australia yesterday and been beating the length. So he's a very promising sprinter. He will only get better with age, and if we continue on to the Coolmore, he's obviously going to be very hard to beat.
Pride of Jenny, she was awfully brave once again, going down in defeat behind Charles Wolf in the King Charles Stakes.
She was excellent. She just gives it her all, taken on a little bit early, which just kept her honest, which we're going to get, the more and more she races, because people are going to have horses that may be able to contest her. And, she was bold. She almost looked beaten by Oberon down the straight, but once she heard him coming, she rallied again. And I dare say if she had heard or seen the winner coming, she would have picked up again. But, really good run, and she will be planned at running the Cox Plate, so we'll orchestrate the week ahead for her and try and have her as best as we can into that run.
What about the win of Duke de Sessa in the Caulfield Cup?
Yeah, it's just, again, with that hour of racing, winning in Everest was one thing, and being surrounded by the team, but to have 4 runners in a Caulfield Cup in a different state, obviously, and having the Victorian team present to win that, it's what you dream about. I know it's the old cliche saying, but it's what you are. It's what we're in racing for. You want to win these majors, and to be a part of a Caulfield Cup winner it's sensational. So it was a big hour.
Does he now progress to a Melbourne Cup?
He doesn't. He probably goes to the old McKinnon, the Championship 2000.
Yep.
There are options of going international, but they haven't been discussed. But I'd say gut feel he's probably staying local, but that would be the race that he would likely head to after the Caulfield Cup.
Brilliant little gear change too. Norton bet on. Seemed to work.
Yeah, master stroke by Kieran there. He's a very forward-going horse. Even for a stayer, he's pretty quick and just has a tendency to over-travel. So we've had him in crossovers and tongue ties, and it was only pretty much a week out. Kieran said, let's go Norton. So, it worked with what we wanted to achieve, and it was helped by Deny Knowledge. We were able to get a lovely drop in behind her, and it worked out well, but the horse and Harry had to push the button at the right time, and they got it spot on.
Jack, well done. Continued success for the remainder of the Spring Carnival.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Jack Turnbull there from Kieran Maher Racing. Well, what a night it was on Friday night at Wentworth Park.
Reasonably Power and Glory. There's good speed. 7 Sinners. Out fast, Yogan Bale, and deeper Sammy Ethan, and Miss Envy's whipping around them. Miss Envy's found the lead, and she darts away from Sammy Ethan and Yogan Bale. Getting through 4th, 7 Sinners. There followed Power and Glory off the track from Scarlatti. Well back Power Paws and Trunky Chief. Miss Envy to the home turn, leads by a length and a half on Yogan Bale. Power and Glory winds up the outside, but it's the national sprint winner, Miss Envy, clear, and Miss Envy beats a luckless Power and Glory. Yogan Bale third.
Steve Shinners joins us on the aftermath this morning. G'day, Steve, and what a night it was Friday night.
Yeah, morning, boys. Yeah, it was certainly a big one, and nearly the perfect 3. But they went sensational, and on such a big night, it was awesome.
Morning, Steve. Congratulations once again. Let's start with Miss Envy. Hasn't she just been such a great bitch for you and your family?
Yeah, look, she's amazing, and look, she has probably well documented. She had a bit of a bad trip to Adelaide, and we've sort of had a few little issues since we got back. So she probably wasn't 100% in the heats, and we couldn't sort of run it too much. So she's improving, and she'll nearly be back to her best. So to beat those calibre of dogs, out of box 8 as well. We had the 2 visitors boxes were up there, 7 and 8, which is not ideal, but. Yeah, she's just a genuine little race dog and puts herself in the hunt, and we couldn't be more proud of her.
Oh, she was amazing. Get around them on that first bend like she did and then set it up from there. But earlier on in race number 3, Transcendent in the Young Star Consolation, off the canvas. What a win this was.
Yeah, that was amazing. Look, he's the whole litter are a bit like that. They just hate getting beaten, and I think he thought he had it shot the bits on the corner. And look, the Victorian dog's a very smart dog, and yeah, when we first took them up there, obviously they'd had a flight on the Sunday and they trialled on Tuesday, so we didn't want to sort of flatten them, so we just sort of give them a box to box, and they finish on the lure. At that stage, and I think he thought he was going to catch it again, and then I think he realised that he wasn't going to catch it. The dog snuck up on his inside, but credit to him, he knuckled down, and it was a sensational call by Matty Jackson. It was just made the hairs on the back stand up, and the roar from the crowd, like you don't hear that these days. It was insane. Like when he's got up on the line, I think a lot of punters must have backed him, and it was a great experience.
And as you said, Steve, it was almost the perfect night because La Sagrada, she was very good as well.
Oh, she was amazing. Look, it absolutely bucketed down just after Transcendence race, and we were drenched from head to toe. And, she's jumped, and the one's moved out on her, and she's got flattened on it. Well, she's out of play. But, look, she's just a very smart dog in a field. And, look, the way the track was, it was like soup during that race. So for her to come through, and probably if the track had been a bit firmer and she gets through quicker, I reckon she probably still nearly could have run that dog down. But, look, the sky's the limit for her down the track. I think if she can actually stay, she's probably going to be one of the better stays in Australia, I'd say. But we'll jump that hurdle when we get there.
Steve, we were stuck for time and we're counting down the news at 8 o'clock, but I'm sure we'll listen to you later on in the week with the boys on the Greyhound programs. But it was a red letter night for your kennel on Friday night. Well done.
Thanks, boys.
There he is, Steve Shinner. Thanks for your time this morning. He's just flown back in from a very big weekend over there in Sydney town.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelpline.org.au.